And joining me now is former U.S. Congressman Tom Tancredo, a Republican from Colorado. Congressman, thanks for joining us tonight. There's been a little confusion about your position. You've raised a concern that you said, I do not want the police here, there in Arizona, any place else, pulling people over because of what they should look like or whatever. They should be pulled over. What do you mean by that in the context of the Arizona law, the new one?
Sure. I was being interviewed about it, and I was telling them that I like the law. I believe that it is a result of the fact that the federal government is AWOL, as it has been under Bush and Carter, and for a long way back. It's not Obama's problem necessarily, but the fact is that it's a good law. I think that Arizona needed to do it. And then they said, well, what about having people pulled over because of the way they look? And I said, well, no, I wouldn't want that to happen in Arizona or anyway, and I would never vote for a law like that. But that is not the law. That's not the law that was put on the books. Well, they took out that middle part. Somebody blogged on it, got to Huffington Post, and all of a sudden it was Tom Tancredo thinks that it has gone too far. It's certainly not true.
Maybe I'm a dreamer.
It is a good law.
Well, maybe I'm a dreamer, but I keep thinking about somebody out there who's going to take a position that seems practical, like a lot of these millions of people are going to be here. They're not going to be thrown in another country. We're not going to do a roundup. That's not the way America works. At the same time, most Americans would like to see our laws enforced, and they'd like to see if you come into this country, you only come into this country if you have the permission of this country to come into this country, to work or to live.
You are a dreamer. You are a dreamer.
Why can't we have a regular, progressive system that's enforced?
Because the Democrats see legal and illegal immigration as a source of votes. The Republicans see legal and illegal immigration as a source of cheap labor. Those are the elites in the party. They do not want secure borders. That is the basic American people, absolutely. But you know what? The people who are running the show on both sides get benefit out of open borders. That's why, Chris, that's why you're being a dreamer to think that we can change that unless the people of this country do what the people of Arizona have done.
Well, I'm not a complete dreamer because people like Joe Lieberman, who I disagree with a lot of times, and Lindsey Graham, who's a bit more conservative than I am, to put it lightly, both have a plan out with John Kerry to do the following. Real check on people to see they're not lying about who they are when they come looking for a job in this country. Strengthen the border if you have to. A process for temporary workers to come here and work and go back home with the money. And a path for the people who are here and have been here a long time to become American. That seems to be a reasonable, middle-of-the-road solution. Do you think the guys people like Reid are really for it? Do you think the Democrats are really for it? The Republicans are really for it?
No, I don't. I think what they'll want is that last part, especially the pathway to citizenship, essentially the amnesty, without any of the rest. And here's the problem with that last part, is that there is no way to square this circle. You cannot possibly say to everybody who's coming to this country illegally that you're going to get all of the privileges of all of the people who have done it the right way. It's the craziest thing in the world. It's the biggest slap in the face to the people who have waited, the Hispanic people, the black people, all the folks who have waited for years to do it the right way, paid a lot of money, gone through a lot of brain damage to get here, and then all of a sudden, if you've snuck into the country, don't worry, we're going to give you that same privilege by making you what? Pay a fine? Baloney. It's not fair. It's totally unfair to do it that way.
Well, it may not be fair, but life is unfair. What do you do to a person who's been living here, raised kids here, has them in school, they've been here 5 or 10 or 20 years? What do you do?
Yeah, you go. I tell you, the only thing you can say to them is, look, there is a way to come into this country legally.
But they're already here.
The way, before
You're
we
arguing
find out,
about a world that doesn't exist. They're already here. They're already here.
But before we find out that you are here illegally, go home. Come back in the right door. That's what you said.
But you think that's going to happen?
Well, you know what? I'm a dreamer, too, I guess, in that respect.
No, I'm not. I'm a dreamer because I'm hoping you'll reach a compromise on this, which basically recognizes reality. Yeah. You got to stop illegal. I'm a dreamer that the only country in the world that doesn't have a real border. You have to have some system of bringing workers in the country, which we need. Let them come in and go back home if they want to. And if people want to come in here illegally, they've got to go through a process which can be liberal, but they have to obey the law. That's what I believe. And I don't think we agree on what to do with people here already. I just want to make sure that in the future we have a country that makes some kind of sense. That's all. And it's fair.
Then you cannot
and it's
possibly.
Honest.
Then Chris, I'll tell you, I do not think you can possibly opt for the amnesty option, because once you do that, you ruin the rest of your hope. Your hope is that we will have a system then that everybody will abide by, that we'll have secure. The minute you give 20 million people amnesty, you're going to encourage 20 million more to come across those borders.
I know. I hear your argument. Thank you very much for coming on tonight, Tom Tancredo of Colorado. Thank you.